Nahlah, nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
You and I were both here in 2019 for the 75th anniversary, and looking at what we saw today. A lot is the same in terms of the ceremony, but a lot feels very, very different. And I'm just curious, as you were amongst the crowd today, what struck you the differences in tone and feel?
I don't know if you felt this, Adrienne, but to me it felt like a farewell. It felt like we were marking the loss of something, like we were about to lose something. And it really, for me, came home with those scenes at the end, those poignant scenes of the three leaders, Prince of Wales, Justin Trudeau, and the Prime Minister of France, spending all that time and lingering with the veterans, almost saying goodbye to them, shaking their hands and hearing their stories.
And, as you say that, too, I think about some of the ceremonies that were happening all along the beach. And people are so aware of the era we're in now, right? That there's been so much conflict. This is not a world without war. And having spoken to some of the veterans, which I know you did as well, I'm curious what you took from them about this moment in time.
Yeah, there was kind of a dual message. One we're accustomed to hearing, which is, don't forget the sacrifices. Don't forget a world like this takes a lot of effort, not only to make, but also to maintain. And the second thing that I heard, Adrienne, is that, perhaps we should look at the past full of wars and try to think of other ways to solve humans' differences of opinion. I definitely heard that message more than once from the veterans. Yeah.
And those men have, they have so many stories still. We've also talked a lot about women and the contribution of women in the Second World War. I met a lot of the code breakers, Elsa Lessard, Mary Owen, these people who contributed so much. But you told the story at the 75th anniversary about a woman who was a spy, an agent. And I think we have a little bit of that story. You and producer Steph Genzer dug up this story, spent some time with it, and shared it with us. Let's have a little look.
Her code name was Agent Blanche. Once she landed in German-occupied France, her identity was Suzanne Bonvie. But she was a British agent, a courier, and an explosives expert. Her main task? To quietly help the French resistance to sabotage German efforts.
So, Nahlah, you hear that? I want to hear more. Can you share a little bit more about her?
Well, on top of first helping train members of the resistance, later she also helped prevent German forces or Nazi forces from reaching Normandy when the Allied forces had landed. And then once her area was liberated, she actually helped gather information for the Americans on the ground by traveling between the lines. And on top of all that, Adrienne, after France is liberated, she's married to a French-Canadian soldier. She takes off and travels across continents to make a new home in Canada and raises a whole new generation of Canadians, 6 children she brought to the world.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So now if we look ahead to the anniversary 5 years from now, obviously it's going to look different. One thing we've been talking to people about is, what is the secret sauce? What is it that we need to do to keep that heartbeat of memory alive? What's your instinct on that?
I think it's what I saw today at the ceremony. It was 4,000 people. 800 of them were high school students. They were young. And actually, some of the veterans talked about this too. The key will be for those students, those younger people, to carry those stories forward. Because also, as this generation passes on, there are stories that they haven't told. And they might be contained in papers or in recordings or in other ways of telling stories. And that next generation will have to tell those stories.
Okay, that is a good point. So let's end on that one, because every time someone comes here, someone like me, someone like you, they learn something that they didn't know before. And sometimes stories are unearthed by the very sand itself. Did you learn something this time that you didn't know before?
You know what? Every time I come here, I learn something new. Today, I learned how much young people know about the stories of their great-grandfathers. But I'll tell you one story I really think needs to be told. Is other members of the Special Operations Executive, like Sonia, former University of Toronto students, young Quebecers who died doing the work they did. They died in places far away from Canada. We don't know their stories, we should.
And so much of it was kept secret for so long.
Absolutely.
Nahlah, always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Great to see you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.